Okay. Morning, sir. Sir, pakilala po kayo and your designation.
Yes.
Company.
So my name is Raphael Bacolod. I'm the director for Indonesia and the Philippines at the Austrian Business Agency, which is a governmental agency. We belong to the Austrian Federal Ministry of Labor and Economy. And the reason why I'm here at the Goa, the Gigs on the Beach, is because Austria and the Philippines, your government and our government, signed a memorandum of understanding on the mobility of Filipino professionals and skilled workers, which enables Filipino talents, Filipino professionals and Filipino skilled workers to move to Austria. Austria is a country in Central Europe. We're a very wealthy country. We have a lot of great attributes, which I think Filipinos will like. But we have one issue, and that is we have a demographic issue, that we have a rapidly aging population, a declining birth rate, and we simply don't have enough skilled workers and professionals in Austria. So both your government, the Philippine government, and the Austrian government have come to an agreement that we can both benefit from this situation, a win-win situation, where you have an abundance of Filipino talents and professionals. We're looking for career opportunities, whereas in Austria we are missing these professionals and skilled workers. And we are looking particularly, or there are many opportunities in the fields of IT, technology/engineering, life sciences, hospitality, and that is why I'm here, because this is obviously the most preeminent technology summit here in this region, and we are focusing on the fields IT and technology.
How big is your need for IT people?
We don't have a particular number right now, but we do have. We know this from the industries, there is a high demand. So we are not coming in here and saying we need 50,000 Filipino IT software developers. My role primarily here is to promote Austria, to inform the people about this initiative. So we are in close collaboration with your Department of Migrant Workers, the Philippine BMW. We're in close collaboration with the Philippine Embassy in Austria and also the Migrant Workers Office in Vienna. So your Department of Migrant Workers, the BMW, opened an office in Vienna just a little over a month ago because there is a lot of collaboration planned between Austria and the Philippines.
Sir, so you're Austrian?
Yes, so to myself, yes, I am Austrian by citizenship. I was born and raised in Austria. Obviously, I look Filipino. That is because my grandmother moved 50 years ago from the Philippines to Austria.
That's why you understood Tagalog.
Well, to be honest, I don't understand much of Tagalog, but I was just inferring what you probably would have meant. So in Austria, we speak German. That's our official language.
Okay.
But English is very widespread as well. So I think that is something that will allure to Filipinos, because just to give you some context, 50 years ago, there was, so to say, the first wave of Filipino professionals who moved to Austria. There was an agreement between Vienna, our capital city, and the Philippines to bring in healthcare workers. And it is through that agreement back then that my grandmother came as one among the first in 1974 as a nurse. But this agreement was basically for healthcare workers. So nurses, nursing aides, midwives. The difference between back then and now is that it has been expanded. It's not primarily or it's not exclusively healthcare workers, it's all types of Filipino professionals. They can move to Austria. So it's just like a Filipino here. If you apply for a job, let's take a particular example. A Filipino or a Cebuano here, if he or she applies for a job in Manila or Davao, if they get the job offer, they can just simply move to Manila or Davao. Similar concept with Austria. The Filipino professional here just simply has to apply for a job at an Austrian company. If they get the job offer, they can move to Austria. Because with that job offer, they can apply for work permit and residence permit, which is called in Austria the red, white, red card. Red, white, red, because our flag is red, white, and red. So what we do, the Austrian Business Agency, as part of the governmental agency, we assist Filipino professionals once they have a job offer to apply for this work and residence permit, the red card.
There have been problems, for example, abuses.
Sorry?
Has there been cases have been abusing that red card? How do you address those problems?
Abuse. Well, basically, both the Philippine government and the Austrian government is really concerned, the emphasis is, or this is primarily regulated skilled labor migration. So there is a regulated process. Your Department of Migrant Workers have regulations in terms of what a Filipino has to go through to emigrate out of the Philippines. The emigration regulations. So there are certain processes the Filipino has to go through from your Philippine government. Same, likewise, when a Filipino wants to move to Austria, they have to also go through certain immigration regulation processes, which is where we are the experts, the ABA, where we will support the Filipinos who want to move to Austria in applying for this red card. And I would like to emphasize this is that what we are doing, all this support, the consultations, is free of cost. This is basically a service that is provided by the Austrian government to the Filipino professionals. In fact, just to emphasize this even more, it is not allowed, it's illegal that a Filipino has to pay anything to an Austrian company or an Austrian agency to go through any kind of recruitment process. It's not allowed for them to pay a placement fee to an Austrian company or recruitment agency, because we believe the burden of cost should not fall on the heads of the Filipino talents.
It should be the ones on hiring the workers.
Perhaps, yes, something for them, but definitely not on the Filipino talents.
It will deter them from working to Austria. They have to be
Yes.
How seamless is the process?
How seamless? Well, basically, I think it's very seamless because, especially when we compare it to 50 years ago, when my grandmother moved to Austria, the Filipino talents just simply have to apply for a job in Austria. So it's just like you will look for a job ad. I don't know what the job platforms are here in Philippines. Maybe it's Job Street or something similar. You just apply for a job in any part of the Philippines. The Filipino talent can do the same now with Austrian companies. They just apply for any job in Austria. They go through the regular interview process. If they get the job offer, they are entitled to apply for the work and residence permit. That is the only criteria. You just need a job offer. But what we also do at the ABA is we also support the Filipinos, because if a Filipino likes what they hear about Austria, I can tell you some benefits after, but if they like what they hear, then the next question automatically is, how do I find a job now in Austria? So what we have at the ABA is we have a platform. It's called the Talent Hub. It is on our website, workinaustria.com. And on this Talent Hub, the Filipino professionals can connect with Austrian companies, so they can apply for jobs there. But there is an added benefit, because usually the only way for a company to notice you is if you apply for a job with them. The difference with our platform is that the Filipino talent can register, it's all free of cost. They register, they create a profile, and then they make this profile public. If they make it public, then the companies that are also on that Talent Hub can also see them. So the communication can go both ways, that the Austrian companies can also reach out to the Filipino talents.
You already mentioned earlier that you now accept all types of skilled laborers.
Professionals and
Professionals. But is still nursing or caregiving the top career choice in Austria?
Well, certainly there is a huge demand for healthcare workers, yes, but it's not the only field. So to give you a reference, every year Austria publishes a list of professions where we lack skilled workers. We refer to this as shortage occupations. These shortage occupations is where we simply don't have enough skilled professionals in Austria. This year, in total, those are 110 professions. 110 professions where we don't have enough skilled professionals. Within these 110 professions, it's a diverse range, but they are mainly dominated by technology, IT, engineering, healthcare as well, and life sciences like biotechnology, medical technology, pharmacy. But yes, so certainly healthcare is one of those most in-demand professions, but there are now many more.
Is there any Filipino worker that started working in Austria for some time but now that they like living there, they decide to apply to live there. There have been cases.
Will you repeat that question, please?
Have there been cases where Filipino migrant workers love working in Austria and they decided to apply for this citizenship?
Okay, so basically, the first thing is they need a job offer. When they have the job offer, they can apply for this red card, the work permit, residence permit. This is long-term skilled labor migration. That means this is not meant for seasonal work or just coming for 2 months, 3 months. This is long-term. What is meant by long-term? The red card allows the Filipino professional to come to Austria for 2 years. 2 years? During these 2 years, the Filipino professional has to work for his first Austrian employer. So the Austrian company that offered them the job, that professional will stay with them for 2 years. After those 2 years, we are not forcing them out of the country. We're not punishing them. If they want to, they can extend their stay. They apply for what is called the red plus card, which gives them an additional 3 years in Austria. Okay, an additional 3 years. The difference now between the previous card, the red card, the first 2 years, and this red plus card, the 3 years, is that once they get this upgraded version, the red plus card, they are no longer bound to their first employer. They have access to the entire Austrian labor market. Because maybe they want to develop their career, or they want to also try out something else, they are then free to apply for any other job in Austria. Okay? So that's the first 5 years. One benefit I would like to already highlight here is that I am very well aware of the struggle of Filipino professionals or overseas workers of leaving their families behind. In Austria, we are not even forcing them to make this choice because the Filipino professional can bring their family with them to Austria. They can bring their spouse and children below the age of 18. So they're not put into the position where they have to leave their family behind. As long as the professional has a job offer, they can bring their family with them. In fact, the family has a better standing, I would say this jokingly, a better standing than the Filipino professional because the family will get from day one this upgraded red plus card. And that will allow the Filipino professional spouse, because this is the second issue, many countries don't even allow the Filipino overseas workers to bring their family with them. And the few countries that do are very restrictive and will not allow the spouse to work in that country, because many times if a professional has a spouse, it's also a professional, and then there is another struggle is that, will I follow my partner or my spouse to support them, but at the same time I have to sacrifice my own career? In Austria, we don't force them to make this decision because the spouse can join the professional and they can apply for any job in Austria, whereas the professional who got the job offer has to stay with the first company for 2 years. So these are the first 5 years. Now, because you are asking about even longer term, these red plus card are the pre-steps to permanent residency. So permanent residency, after around 5 years, they can apply for it, and that is then the pre-step or precondition to Austrian citizenship if they would like to have it. No one's also forcing them, you don't need it, but anyway, they are already there, they can stay there, but if they want, eventually down the line, they can also, they could become eligible for Austrian citizenship.
Is the Is the German language a requirement? I mean, for the red plus or red
Yes,
white
okay.
red. Okay.
Yes. So, speaking from a legal immigration perspective, German is not necessary to move to Austria. Our official language is German, but to move to Austria, it's not a legal requirement because this will become technical, but just so that your viewers or readers will understand it. To get this red card, you only need a job offer. Okay. With the job offer, you apply for the red card. We help you apply for that card, and the professional will then be evaluated by the authorities according to 4 criteria. The first criteria is what are their qualifications? So are they qualified for this professional role? The second criteria by which they will be evaluated is what is their work experience? You know, how much work experience do they have? The third criteria is what is their age? And the fourth criteria is which languages do they speak? Okay? It's these 4 criteria. But, a disclaimer, you have to reach just a certain total number of points, like a maths exam. You don't have to necessarily answer each question correctly, you just have to hit the minimum score to pass the exam. The same thing with this red, white, red card. You don't need necessarily in each criteria points, as long as you hit the total necessary points needed. So, in turn, this means you will get points for languages you speak. The most points you get are English and German. You get some points also for other European languages like Spanish and French. But then that means you don't necessarily need to speak German if you get enough points in the other criteria. The other question I think that you might ask is, what about age? Is there an age limit? No, because you get more points the younger you are, you get lesser points the older you are, but it doesn't disqualify you from applying for this. And in fact, it's a very balanced system because younger applicants will get more points for their age, but older applicants will most likely get more points for the work experience, because the older you are, the more likely you have relevant work experience.
What kind of qualifications are most in demand in Austria?
Well, it's the qualifications that allow that are in the fields of IT technology, life sciences, engineering, also healthcare. So in those fields. But I think your education system is very comparable to our education system. I mean, you have the same bachelor, master's structure at universities. Austria has also bachelor, master's system. Of course, the course content, each program will have maybe slight variations in terms of what subjects they took, but overall it's comparable. When I mention I have a bachelor's in this particular field, we will both understand what is meant by a bachelor's. It's a university degree to a certain level.
Another question.
Yes.
About the red, white,
Yes, yes,
red,
sure.
and red, white, red plus.
That's correct.
So yes, the red, white, red card allows Filipinos to stay in Austria
Yeah.
for a period of time.
Yes.
But what happens if they apply that red, white, red card? If there are workers that apply for that card and then they do not have inside to hide or
Height.
somewhat, they go off the radar, stay off the grid, they don't contact workers anymore, they hide there. Legal immigrant, whatnot.
Well,
Do you have some way of monitoring?
Well, the thing is, I don't think they would hide because they are. If they get this red, white, red card, they are already moving there legally. They're not. It's. They have the work permit and the residence permit that allows them to go there. So there is no need to hide. And why would they hide in the first sense?
Like with the US, the problem with the US.
Yes, but well, I can't speak for the US, but I think the incentive to hide is if you go somewhere that you are not allowed to be in. Here you are being welcomed because we're giving you this red, white, red card. There's no need to hide because you're allowed to be there.
Are you allowed to switch, or are they allowed to switch employers within that 2-year
Yes.
period?
Yes, of course, no one is forcing them to stick with one particular employer, but if they then switch, they have to go through the process again, and they have to start again from day one with a new employer, so they have to go again for a full 2 years before they get this higher upgraded red, white, red plus card.
So only with the plus you can you're free to switch employees. Only
Yes,
with the
yes,
plus
yes,
one.
yes. Then you can apply for any job you want.
But only in the Austrian territory, right?
Yes.
It doesn't extend to other European countries.
Yes, so
Okay.
this red, white, red card allows you to work and live in Austria, but once you're in Austria, basically, if you want to travel for a weekend and do holidays, you can of course travel
you can travel.
within the Schengen area because Austria is part of the EU, part of the Schengen area. There are no borders, so to say. So you can of course travel for a weekend and explore Europe. In fact, that is I think this will actually attract many Filipino professionals is because they will want to maybe explore Europe, and Austria is a great place from which you can explore Europe because we're right in the center of Europe. You can reach any part of Europe within 3 hours by plane. It's also a very popular activity to do. What I like to do every couple of weekends, I fly for one day, like in the morning. Before I came here last weekend, I flew in the morning to London, 2 hours. Then I went to what did I do? I met a friend. I had some lunch. Then I watched. I like pro wrestling. I watched a pro wrestling show there, and then I went to the movies. And then the evening, I flew back home. And I will do this once a month. And you can do this in a different city, Paris, Rome. London is maybe not the best example because it's not anymore part of the EU, but it's just to give you a scope of reference how accessible it all is.
Suppose a worker fallen in an accident there in the EU. Will any surviving relatives be
Well-
informed, or is there some compensation?
Well, the thing is, once you are registered in Austria, it's mandatory that you have healthcare insurance, accident insurance. It's a social state basically, so social welfare. So there are a lot of insurances and coverages there to support the Filipinos. So healthcare is free, accident insurance, paid sick leave. Maybe this might be interesting to your readers and viewers. In Austria, you can of course take paid sick leave if you are sick, and your salary will not be lessened or reduced by the number of days that you were sick. You still get your full pay, because I know in some countries, if you're sick, you don't get your full pay by that month. It reduces by how much you were sick. Also, there are many benefits like holiday, the amount of holidays in Austria. There are 13 public holidays, so those days are off. And then Austrian companies, most of them, it's mandatory that they give at least 5 weeks of holidays to the employees, whether Austrian or Filipino. There is no difference in citizenship, and they really encourage you to use it. I know certain countries, they say like you have this number of days, but they don't really consume it. In Austria, the Austrian employers really push you to use it, because you are only allowed to have at the end of the year, so to say, like a certain number of days left unused.
What's the percentage of the Filipinos?
In Austria, very good question. This is something we are trying to find out, because there is a Filipino diaspora in Austria. My grandmother is part of this. My mother is part of it. I'm, so to say, the result of it. The last number, we are estimating that there are around 30,000 people in Austria who are Filipinos or have Filipino roots. But this is not an accurate and maybe not a recent number, because there has been this 50-year history of Filipinos, and no one is tracking you by race or ethnicity. But this is an estimate. But you will see Filipinos in Austria. I think, I might be wrong, but I am just guessing that in terms of the Philippine diaspora in Europe, I would think we're probably in the top 5. So there maybe other countries, like I would assume maybe the UK, Germany, Spain would probably have more Filipinos, but Austria, considering we're a rather small country, it's good. I think we're in the top 5. So there, you will when you walk the streets of Vienna, you will always see a Filipino somewhere.
Assimilated well into Austria. The Filipinos.
Yes, I mean this is another thing that I would like to highlight, which is why I think Filipinos will thrive in Austria, is because Filipinos are adjustable. Filipinos are driven, because I see this in the Filipinos that I know. Filipinos like to deliver, they like to work hard. I think they have this feeling of they want to also contribute. And I also think what makes Filipinos very, very good employees is they're very resilient. A Filipino, no matter how, I like to put it like this: put a Filipino anywhere in the world and they will make a home out of it. A Filipino will never show you that he or she is suffering, no matter how bad the conditions are, because a Filipino is resilient. And I'm not saying conditions are bad in Austria. I think conditions are very good even in Austria, which is why I think Filipinos will thrive. And the history shows it. We have 50 years of Filipinos in Austria. We have many Filipinos in Austria. And your government, our government, have come to this agreement. There must be a reason why governments agreed to collaborate.
What is your recommendation? Where is the best place to live in Austria?
Where's the best? Well, let me tell you what the facts say, and then I'll tell you my personal opinion.
Okay.
Austria has been ranked as the #1 country in terms of quality of life within the European Union. You know that the European Union is already a very wealthy, a great place to live, but Austria has been ranked as the #1 within the European Union. My personal opinion, but this is also backed by studies, Vienna, the capital city, has been ranked by The Economist, also the Mercer studies, as the most livable city of the world. So they made a study of all cities worldwide, where is the best city to live. Vienna has been ranked as #1 for the last 10 to 15 years. So it's not just a one-time thing for the last 10 to 15 years. So I'm from Vienna. Of course, I'm biased, my hometown. But there are also many other very nice cities, places and regions in Austria. So both the cities and the countryside, I think, are beautiful.
How about the passing rate of the applicants?
Well, it depends.
Yeah, we do that.
It depends on basically. I don't have the data in mind, but basically, it's just like any job hunting process. You know, you will be applying for jobs. You can't have a guarantee that you will get the job immediately. You know, it will be the same process like you apply for jobs here in the Philippines, but just in Austria. But I think what will certainly help Filipinos is because they're very well educated. They have, I would say, the attributes that employers will like. Filipinos definitely know how to present themselves, and of course we have the other issue that Austria is lacking skilled professionals. So you know, they can't be too picky. You know, of course they have to meet certain standard in terms of fulfilling the roles, but I think Filipinos are very well equipped to fill these roles because we have many Filipinos already. Back then it was the healthcare sector, but we already have Filipinos now who have come through this red, white, red card scheme. In fact, if he's watching, shout out to Jose.
Okay.
Jose is a Filipino that I got to know. He's Cebuano. He's the one who actually also I met him. We were talking about the Philippines, Cebu, and he also mentioned GoAb. That's how I started considering this event. He moved here, I think he moved to Austria from Cebu around 1 or 2 years ago. He found, well, the way it worked, he told me, is that he saw, I think on Google, Facebook, or LinkedIn, some ad by us, by the ABA, and then it piqued his curiosity. So he just looked into our website and he saw everything that I described to you about Austria. That piqued his interest, and he said, wow, Austria seems like a great place to live and work. So then he went on our digital platform, this talent hub that I mentioned to you, where you can contact Austrian companies and they can contact you. He applied for only one job, and that job gave him the job offer, and then he moved to Austria. And he's an IT professional, if I remember correctly. Studied here in the Philippines, UP Cebu, I think it's called. He brought his wife, brought his children. They didn't speak German, and he moved there, and he's still there. He's still there, and I think he's doing well. And this is just one example. There are other Filipinos who have this red, white, red card who moved to Austria.
I was reading about ABA that you also into film production.
Yes. So the Austrian Business Agency, ABA, is this governmental agency. We basically promote Austria in 3 different fields. The first department is called Invest in Austria. Invest in Austria deals with bringing in foreign direct investment, FDIs, to Austria, whether it's multinational corporations, whether it's startup entrepreneurs like you have here in the tech scene. So that's Invest in Austria. The second department that I work in is Work in Austria, connecting Austrian companies with international talents, in my case, Indonesian and Filipino talents. In the third department, you did very good research. The third department that we have is called Film in Austria. That department, those colleagues in that department, they try to bring in foreign movie and series productions to Austria. To give you an example, James Bond Spectre with, Daniel Craig, that was filmed in Austria, in Vienna. Also one of the more recent Mission Impossible movies with Tom Cruise, that was also filmed in Vienna, actually across our office, and that was all done through our colleagues in the department. I didn't even know this, just an anecdote on the side. Because Filipinos love Christmas, right? The music video of Last Christmas, I Give You My Heart, that was filmed in Austria. And also I heard through a colleague, a former colleague. Yes.
What's the feedback of employers about Filipinos? Because when I was in Singapore, one of the owners of a series of hotels, several hotels there, they prefer Filipinos rather than other races. So how about in Austria? Is there any feedback?
Well, I think we wouldn't pin it down due to race, but I think Austrian employers are overall satisfied with the Filipino employees or professionals that they hire. I cannot speak for all employers. I don't know them all, so I can't possibly say. But because I see many Filipinos there, that must speak for itself, because you won't be able to stay there so long if their employer doesn't like you. And we have this history of Filipinos being there. So
mostly in what industry?
In what industries? Well, you have Filipinos represented because of the history. Actually, primarily it was in healthcare. That's how it
Healthcare?
started the history.
Okay.
But now we have expanded to these other fields: IT, technology, like Jose, like my colleague, life science, engineering.
Okay.
And you said it's one of the top 5 immigrants. What are the
Well,
most,
I don't know this for sure,
Yeah,
but I'm just
more or less,
guessing.
yeah.
Maybe top 10 or
What
something.
about in the top 5 also? The Eastern Europeans or what? Some of the places from.
Okay, let me just clarify. In terms of top 5, I meant that I think in terms of the European countries that have the largest communities of Filipinos, I think Austria ranks among the top 5 to top 10. But what I think your question is asking, like, what are the other migrant groups that move
Yeah,
to Austria?
correct. Yeah.
What I know, the largest group is German, because that's our neighbor.
German. Okay.
Yes. Austria is next to Germany, next to Switzerland, next to Italy, next to other European, Eastern European countries. So number 1 I know is Germany, and I would assume that the others are from the neighboring countries.
Okay.
Good with it, satisfied.
Thank
Thank you again.
Yeah, very interesting.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to share, sir?
Yeah.
Good question. What do I want to share? Well, thank you for the interview. I'm really glad to be here in Cebu. It's the first time in 25 years that I've been here. 50 years since my grandmother moved from Cebu to Austria. So it's nice. I mean, I hope to see many people. I think this is my feeling. I think the people are very welcoming, especially here in Cebu. I've noticed very welcoming, very laid back. Finally, because the thing is that the issue is always when I'm among Filipinos back home, I usually don't understand them when they speak Tagalog, right? Because my mom and grandma speak Cebuano Bisaya, and growing up, I always wondered, why don't I understand these other Filipinos? And it's only because I never got to practice any Philippine language at home. But then over the years, I came to realize they speak different languages. So now being here, I'm glad that I understand at least some of what the people are talking. I don't understand everything, but that's very pleasant. And I think also what I like about my role is that growing up, I didn't identify myself as particularly Filipino, right? Because being born and raised in Austria, sometimes I think it's ironic that I'm in this role. But I think it allows me to see the other side a bit. What is it that the Filipinos who grow up here or live here? How do they go through their professional lives, their daily lives? So I think it's cool.
So again, sir, after this, where can we reach you?
Yes, our website is very easy to remember. It's workinaustria.com. Self-explanatory. Workinaustria.com. You can contact us. We also have a service team of lawyers and legal experts. If you have any questions about this red, white, red card application, if you need any kind of support or consultations, you can contact us. One-stop shop, workinaustria.com.
Thank you.
For this interview.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.